Check it out, Casper!
The Talos principle is, Portal is the Turing Test, is a story-driven puzzler from 2016, which of course bears certain similarities to other games. The story won't blow your mind if you've watched any artificial intelligence-based film or played any artificial intelligence-based game in the last, say, 10 to 20 years. But don't let that be a total negative. The story has enough unique points and it's got enough character to stand on its own 2 feet. And there is an interesting element to the very end of the game, which I won't spoil for you of course, but it does add a little bit more to it. The short, spoiler-free version is, a character wakes up in space, called Ava Turing, and she's on a mission to Jupiter's moon, Europa. Now for whatever reason, the rest of the crew have stopped responding to the ship's computer, called Tom. So Tom has woken up Ava to try and help work out what's going on. Now as soon as Tom and Ava arrive at where the rest of the crew are stationed, it seems that they've tried to lock out anyone from getting there easily. They've set up a series of tests, and these tests obviously form the basis of the puzzle gameplay, but then they also drive the story. Why has the crew set up these tests? And that essentially is what the whole story is about, answering that question. There's a lot of cool little lore bits in there, L-O-R-E, lore, that expand on the story more than just the narrative. Now it's not very long, I finished this game in about 7 hours and that was taking my time and going AFK, you know, to eat food and stuff like that. But what is there, I'd say, is pretty good. Now the gameplay, as I mentioned, is a puzzler. And the basic principle of pretty much every single puzzle in this game is you've got switches and you can turn them on. You can also turn them off. It starts off pretty simple. You take this blue light, you put it in the switch to turn it on. But it does get a lot more complicated than that. For example, this really late level has got light bridges which you can turn on and off. You can also angle them up and down. You've got alternating switches which turn on and off constantly. And you've also got a remote control robot which you're controlling at the same time as controlling the player character. The good thing about this is that at no point did I feel like the game hadn't given me the tools I needed to understand the level. The difficulty curve is very nice, I would say. Simple way to describe it. It goes up quite gradually, and at no point in the game are you left thinking, actually, what the hell am I supposed to do here? I've got no idea what this does. And in fact, you probably won't be scratching your head too much at all in this game. Throughout the entire thing, there was only 1 or 2 levels that I really got stuck on for more than a few minutes. So what I'm trying to say is that the difficulty is still quite easy. To compare it to something like Portal, I'd say it doesn't get any harder than Portal 1. I also mentioned the Talos principle in the introduction. That game has got a lot of facets to its puzzles. The puzzles in the Turing Test never really come close to that. But that again is not a bad thing. I had a lot of fun playing this game and its simplicity still left me feeling like I'd done enough to feel fulfilled, but if you are looking for an extremely tough, challenging puzzle, then this probably isn't it. For a game from a studio I've never heard of, and I'm pretty sure this was their 2nd ever game, it looks really nice and it performs really well. And even things like the voice acting and the storytelling I thought were pretty damn good. It's also one of the surprisingly few games to use DX12. Now I'll be honest with you guys, I don't know enough about computer graphic processing to know if DX12 does that much more than DX11, but the very fact that it uses it is surely better than not using it. There was a few things I didn't like when you come off a ladder, you don't have control of the character and it does this sort of move thing which made me feel a little bit motion sick every time it happened. Fortunately, there's not too many ladders in the game. You can also inspect almost every single item that's sort of lying on the side here as part of the setting and rotate it in this, again, really cool view, very seamless sort of interaction. You interact with the item, it becomes full screen, you put it down, and it doesn't really sort of interrupt the flow. But they hardly used it for anything in the game. It's used for a few lore elements, so you learn a little bit more about the story, a bit about the philosophy behind the game, but it's never really integral to the gameplay. Other than how short this game was, I would give it a really, really high mark. I'm not a fan of reducing a game to a number, so I'm just going to say it was really great. And if this had been, say, a 20-hour campaign, it would be up there with Portal 1 and Portal 2 in my mind. I would love to see the Turing Test 2, or something that, you know, doesn't have to be based in the same universe, doesn't have to follow the same story, But clearly the guys who wrote this have got a good idea of good story. And clearly they can make good graphics, and clearly they can design good puzzles, albeit reasonably simple ones. The biggest negatives for me would be short game, although the price reflects that. It's about half your average AAA game price, so a pretty big thumbs up from me. And if you ever see this game on sale, I definitely recommend picking it up. And if you are looking for a puzzler and you're okay with a reasonably short game, I would recommend picking it up at full price because it gave me a fair amount of entertainment. So that's my review, I guess you could say, and thanks everyone for watching. Here's my video about the Talos principle, you might find that quite interesting, and here is something YouTube thinks you will like. And of course, if you're not already subscribed, that's there too. Thanks everyone, and goodbye!